Should music be free? May seem like a bit of a strange question to you, but it's been kind of running around in my head a little bit about how we think about music today. Because, of course, as most of you probably know, if you go back 20, 30 years, you had to pay for music. And we did so through buying CDs or albums or tapes or whatever it was back then. But if you wanted access to music other than listening on the radio, you had to actually purchase the product. And that's what it was. It was a product back then that you would buy. That changed, of course, with the arrival of Napster and then other music distribution services. And with the arrival of these music distribution services, we saw a real change take place. So initially there was a response from musicians, bands like Metallica and so on, who really railed against Napster for providing music on streaming services for free, or streaming services, it wasn't actually streaming services, it was downloads. Napster provided downloads for music. And so you could go on to Napster, you could download MP3s of music and listen to them. And this was, of course, a massive issue at the time. But now, quite a number of years later, a couple of decades later, we're at a point where music is freely available on streaming services. Now you might say it's not freely available because you have to pay for a subscription, but there's a big difference between paying money for an album and having access to music via a subscription service. Because you're not paying for a specific album. Let's say that I had, I don't know what it might be, Purple Rain by Prince. If I buy that album, that's what I'm getting. That's the music that I have access to. But if I pay for a streaming service, well, I can just download anything. So I'm not paying for specific music. And I think that the key thing that arises out of this is that music has lost its value. People don't value music anymore. And that's because we actually don't charge for music anymore. As a streaming service, you pay for a general access to music, but you're not paying for an album that was created by a musician. And, you know, a lot of people think this is absolutely fantastic. Certainly a lot of the consumers do think that it's great, but I think that you have to take a much, much bigger picture of what's happening to determine if this is good. Because at the moment we have cheap access to a product, to endless product really. And while in the short term we think, oh, that's fantastic, I can listen to any music that I want to in the world, almost. But in the long term, this causes problems because, well, just to break it down for you, let's use Spotify as an example, being the biggest streaming service in the world. As an artist, if I put my music on Spotify, how much money will I make? Well, basically none. It may as well be nothing. You receive a portion, a very, very small fraction of a cent. And it's based on plays, and the only people who can actually make money off streaming services, music distribution services, are big artists, really big, well-known artists who have a lot of negotiating power behind their music companies. So the record companies, big companies that are able to negotiate with the distribution services to receive a decent amount of money for the artist. But if you take any smaller artist, anyone who isn't absolutely huge, stands to make basically no money. And what that means is that you're asking musicians to make money for free. Now I have a lot of problems with that. Being a musician, obviously, I have problems with that. But there are many, many different problems that are involved with this. So firstly, obviously, how is a musician supposed to eat and to put a roof over their heads if they can't make any money? And would you work for free? Would you do your job, go into the office or go out onto the construction site or whatever and do it for nothing? No, you wouldn't. But yet we expect musicians to do that, and we expect that we don't have to pay them, and just kind of sweep it under the carpet that the fact that music distribution services aren't paying them. So effectively, the amount of work that goes into it, and you have to do absolutely everything. So as an artist, I write my own music, I compose it, music and lyrics, every single instrument, I play them, I program them, I compose, arrange, then I mix them. I'm doing somebody else's job. This used to be the job of a mixing engineer. So I mix them and then I master them, doing somebody else's job, mastering engineer. I have to produce it all, doing the job of the producer. So I'm doing all of this work for free, and then I have to go through a process with music distribution services in order to put my music up on their website, which takes time and is not necessarily a super easy thing to do, in order to make no money. That doesn't sound like a very good deal to me as a musician. Now, you might ask, well, why do musicians do it? And the reason is this, is that most musicians are young. They don't know any better. They don't have that back knowledge to be able to say, hey, this is not the way it used to be done and we just shouldn't be doing this. And they won't stand up against this ethos of doing business and say, no, I will not do this. Because quite frankly, musicians are driven a lot of the time by fame, that kind of outward desire to be rich. But of course, anybody who knows will know that if you want to get rich, you should go into banking, become an accountant or a lawyer or whatever. Don't go into the music industry. The music industry is for people who absolutely love music and simply couldn't imagine doing anything else. Certainly why I do it. But I should be entitled to at least make a living from my music, right? I'm not asking to be super rich or anything. I'm just saying I should be able to pay the bills from my job. So musicians, young musicians do themselves a disservice and then every other musician a disservice by jumping on board and signing up to Spotify or any of these distribution services and agreeing to make no money. And there's kind of this idea out there now, well, you're not going to make any money from your music, but you'll make money from playing live shows and selling merchandise. But you know what? I mean, I'm a musician. I'm not a fucking merchandise guy. I'm not a marketing person, and I shouldn't need to be. If our expectation is that, well, in order to be a musician, you need to be a marketer, well, then you need to eliminate all of the best musicians in the world from producing music. Perhaps one of the reasons why a lot of the modern music is just not as good as what it previously was. Because now we're asking musicians not to be musicians, but to be marketers. And the general consensus that I get from looking around, reading and watching videos and so on, is that it's much more important that you're good at social media and that you're good at promoting yourself than it is that you're good at making music. So what we are collectively creating here between us, between musicians who agree to sign up to distribution services and between the consumer who agrees to listen to those distribution services, we're collectively agreeing that we are going to make music suck. That is what the end product of this is going to be. Now we can see it already. Just go and listen to anything from the 80s or the 90s and then come and listen to stuff from today. It's not to say that there aren't good things out there today, but the quality is just not there. It's not the same. Because in the 80s and 90s, it was musicians being musicians. They had teams, they had PR people doing the PR, they had promotional people doing all those things, advertising people doing all that stuff, but they were making music. And we've gone away from that today. And this idea that music should be free is extremely strange. You know, if I was an artist and I was painting pictures or sculpting sculptures, would you expect to get those pieces of artwork from me for free? Do you think you could just walk into an art gallery and go, oh yeah, I like that, I think I'll take that? Or do you think that you'd get arrested and charged with robbery? Yeah, that's what would happen. And it's because it's not something that's for free. It's a product, it's something that's made. And I mean, a product is kind of like a dirty word for an artwork, but music is art. And if it's made well, it is worthy of being paid for. And we should absolutely consider that we should be paying for it. And it's why I don't have my music up on any distribution services. You won't find it there if you go and look for it. You can purchase my music from my website, where you can go, you can get a full high quality version of the track. You pay about $1 for a track, which I think is a pretty good deal, and then it's yours. That track is yours. You can now go away and listen to that on whatever device you want. If you're going to buy a CD version, obviously you need a CD player. If you're going to buy an album, you need a record player. But it's now yours to take away. This whole modern idea of working with subscriptions is an extremely communist model, which is not healthy for anyone. It means that you won't own your music. You won't own a copy of your music, and effectively you can lose the right to that at any time that the distributor decides. If for some reason Spotify went down, you don't have access to music. If for some reason Spotify simply stopped your account, you don't have access to music. All your playlists and so on. I mean, not that it's much good. I've used Spotify, and to be honest, I think it sucks. I think it's a terrible platform. But that aside, we need to come back to the idea of paying artists directly for their music. Now, we've never been in a better position in the history of the world to do this than today. It is amazingly obvious that this is what we should be doing, right? Now, I have done this. I have a website. On that website are my songs, and there is an e-commerce platform set up there for you to go and purchase my songs. So it's very, very simple to do that. So why should we pay a distribution service where only they get the money and the artist gets no money? Why would we do this? It seems counterproductive, but also kind of really unfair to the artist. We want to give a distribution service money, but we don't want to give the person who wrote the song, did all the composition, arrangement, mixing, mastering, came up with all of the creative ideas, and who actually owns the song, we don't want to give them any money. This is just crazy to me. It's just absolutely crazy. So my message to you is twofold. As a consumer of music, I would like you to encourage musicians to set up websites, musicians who you like, to set up websites if they don't already have them. They probably do. And to put up a system of e-commerce. It's very easy to do, so that you can go onto their website and purchase those songs once and forever from them to listen to on whatever device you want to listen to them on. That's your job. Artists, I'm going to tell you this: stop putting your music on distribution services. Set up a website, put your songs on it, set up an e-commerce system so people can buy your songs. That is the only way that you're going to make money from music. All of these distribution services are a trap for you. The only people that they serve are huge artists, I mean massive artists, who are on enormously big record labels. And then most of all, it just serves the distribution service. It just serves them. It's not good for anyone else. So please take your music off those sites and put it on your own dedicated website and sell your music directly. You'll then go from making a fraction of a cent for 1,000 listens or whatever of your music to actually making the money from the songs. Now, I would much rather have a bunch of people come to my website, buy a song for $1, and then be able to listen to that for the rest of their lives and know that I've made the money from that, feel good about that, feel that I have a customer base. You can also use this to set up your own database of customers, so when you release an album you can go, hey, I've got a new album out, come and check it out. You can deal directly with your consumer, with your customer in this way, rather than having this middleman. I mean, God, why the fuck would we be using this middleman of a distribution service? It's a terrible idea. So look, that's my kind of rant on this for the day. I'm going to call that quits there. But please do that. And then, of course, please like and subscribe to this video, or like this video, subscribe to my channel. Please feel free to share this. If you're a musician, please share this video with other musicians that you know. If you're a consumer of music, please share this message with your friends and your family, because this only works if we get an abundance of people on board to do it. But wouldn't it be great to see a transition over to the point where the actual artists are the ones who make a profit from their own music? Wow, what a great world that would be. Okay, time for me to go. See you later.